Somewhere in the neighborhood. We're going to be doing the scene.
Yeah.
Well, Mrs.
I think this is part of it. Oh, yeah.
Basically, glad people going around the my reluctance. Oh yeah, sure. Okay.
To the there's probably an on button here somewhere. Here we go. 2 on buttons. Welcome to the official opening of Camp Howard. My name is Paul Hughes, and I'm the chairman of the southern zone of the Alberta Army Cadet League. And I'd just like to welcome you all here this afternoon for this opening. Apologize a little bit for the weather. However, we did see some blue sky on the way out, and if anything, we should probably run this in another half hour, and it'll probably be hot and sunny. What I'd like to do first is call upon Mr. Dennis Fleck, who's the president of the Army Cadet League of Canada, to bring greetings from the league itself. Dennis?
Thank you very much, Colonel. On behalf of the Army Cadet League of Canada, welcome to Camp Howard, and welcome. It's kind of a nice feeling for me because I remember 7 years ago sitting down with Sam Blakely and a few others talking about this camp that was going to occur in southern Alberta. And I can see now that after 7 years of hard work and dedicated work on Sam's part and his committee, Camp Howard is now going to become a reality. I can remember the debate that we had in Ottawa, discussing it with the Army Cadet League, with the Executive Committee, not wanting or not sure what this Camp Howard was going to be. Now we'll make sure that we'll invite them out here, Sam, so they can have a look at this, because it's a beautiful camp and it's beautiful surroundings. But on behalf of the League, on behalf of the Colonel Commandant, and I'll say Commandants, because we have one that's exiting, being Lieutenant General Vance, and one that's entering, which is Charlie Belzile. On behalf of them and our Executive Committee, I welcome you here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Dennis. It's been a long time, as Dennis points out, 7 years in the making, and it surely is an auspicious occasion. Now I'd like to call upon Mr. Graham Clues, who is my boss, and he's the president of the Alberta Army Cadet League. And Graham, if you could come forward and say a few words, we'd appreciate it.
Thank you. And to echo Dennis's words, on behalf of the League, it's indeed a pleasure to welcome you all here, and it's a pleasure to be here. As Dennis mentioned, Camp Howard has been a long time in coming. But like all good things, I think it's been really well worth the wait. There's been a lot of people put a lot of hard work into getting this thing off the ground over the last 7 years, more specifically, especially as it came to fruition the last 2 years. And I'm not going to miss this opportunity on behalf of the League to, even though Paul is going to address these people specifically later in the program, to thank them all very, very much for the efforts that they have put into getting this thing going. The League now has 2 camps in Alberta. We have one west of Edmonton, Camp Mac, which is very ably run by Wally Mills and his crew. And now we have this one down here, which virtually provides access to every cadet in the province to a camp that they can, I guess, call their own. And I think that's something that we should all feel very, very proud of. I cannot at the same time resist adding that the League will be running these 2 camps unsponsored out of their own funds that we have to raise. So I'll gently remind everybody that we are a charitable organization and we've got scads of tax-deductible receipts that we can issue anytime you want. In closing, again, I'd like to thank you all for coming out here, and I just can't wait to see this facility filled with young people. Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Graham. Thank you, Graham. Now, I'd like to call upon Sam Blakely, who's the past president of the Alberta Army Cadet League, the immediate past president, who will introduce Major General Bill Howard. Sam?
Thank you, Paul. There's a correction in the program. At the top, it says the pipes and drums of the Calgary Highlanders, and I want to point out that that should read the pipes and drums of the Calgary Highlanders Cadet Corps. So, Wally, I apologize for that error. I'm sure it wasn't my mistake, but I'll try and track down who was responsible. General Howard has a rather extensive curriculum vitae, and as interesting as it is, I won't repeat it all. I will tell you, though, that that this gentleman was a founding governor of the Army Cadet League of Canada, subsequently was a colonel commandant of Army Cadets, and is the honorary president of the Alberta Army Cadet League. He is the recipient of numerous awards and honors, including the Order of Canada and the Order of Military Merit. His contribution to to the Calgary community is a great one. I guess today we want to focus on his contribution to cadets, however, which is sometimes lost when you think of the other contributions he's made to the community and to the military. He is a friend to cadets. He is there always to support, encourage, and more importantly, sometimes sort out people who need sorting out when they don't see things with a clear vision that some of the others of us share. And he has been known to encourage obstinate people and so on to alter their views, attitude adjustments and so on. He's good at that.
Rare occasions.
Rare occasions, but when necessary. So that is his long and outstanding contribution to cadets is why the committee chose to name this camp after him. Now, we won't forget that because of his remarkable availability, we have to also thank Mrs. Marg Howard. I was going to say that behind every successful man is a surprised wife, but I won't say that because that wouldn't be true. Mark knew what this fellow was made of back at the University of Alberta a long time ago. The camp is named for General Howard, and we want that name to stay on it forever, for as long as this camp exists, started 30 years ago to serve youth of Alberta, and we hope that it will continue for the next 100 years. So General Howard, we would like now to invite you to come forward and unveil the plaque. And Graham, we'd like you to come forward as well. And Paul, you're going to make sure this happens correctly, right?
Oh, I see.
Okay.
No, just it's just like a Christmas present. You just rip it off. Don't save the wrapping. We don't need the. Is that what you do?
Sure.
Don't get a surprise when you
Do whatever you want.
Can everybody read that?
You're telling me it's over to me now, is it? Seriously, can everybody read that, or do you want me to read it?
Read it.
I'm going to read it anyway. I'm getting a little freedom. Camp Howard is dedicated to the Army Cadets of Alberta for the furtherance of leadership, citizenship, physical fitness, and interest in Her Majesty's Canadian Armed Forces. This camp has been named in honor of Major General and Mrs. W.A. I didn't know you were. For their long and dedicated service to the Royal Canadian Army Cadets. In 1972, Major General Howard, CMN, founding governor of the Army Cadet League of Canada and Colonel Commandant of Army Cadets from 1974 to 1978. I can skip the rest of it. May many generations of Army Cadets learn to be better Canadians and to experience at Camp Howard. Thank you. Sam didn't say I was to give a speech, but I am anyways, I guess. Colonel Blakely, Colonel Hughes, Dennis Fleck, Graham Clues, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Sam, for all you've said. I don't know whether that's recorded or not, but I appreciate it. This is neither the time or the place for any long speech, and I was so instructed by Sam, and accordingly I'll be brief. I congratulate the Army Cadet League, and in particular Messrs. Blakely and Hughes, and all others who have been associated in this project. Whilst it may bear the name Camp Howard, which I consider to be a distinct honor, more importantly, it reflects the dedication and hard work of many people who believed in and wholeheartedly support the cadet movement, sea, land, and air. I sincerely hope that in the future this camp will continue to carry forward the high principles of and enshrined in the cadet movement and the dedication of individuals from all walks of life who devote so much of their time to the young people of our country. Many of these people are here today. Today, Camp Howard is a manifestation of such dedication. To all who have contributed to this event today and over the many years, as Sam indicated, I give them the thanks of all of us here and the Cadet Movement of Canada. Thank you.
Sir, would you like to just stay up here and get some plaques? No, you're not.
Now you gotta work.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's difficult for us to acknowledge everyone who has made a contribution, but still in all, in the interests of full disclosure, and those of you who know me well, I can never forget there were a whole lot of people who tried to stand in the way of this happening too. But I'm not going to list their names because I might be sued. Anyway, we have, it does, as something like this goes, when Dennis mentioned the meeting in Ottawa, it wasn't just a discussion, it was a free-for-all. And we didn't get any support at all, I might say. But I can tell you that didn't do anything but make us more determined to make it happen. A camp in southern Alberta, not this particular location. So all of those people who didn't want it to happen, I hope they all see a photograph of this today and hope someday they'll see fit to visit this camp. But now I want to turn to something much more positive, and that is the contributions of people that we'd like to acknowledge by presenting them, or having General Howard present them with a plaque. The first is Neil Derringer, if he'd come up. He's representing Norm Bilodeau of the City of Calgary. The City of Calgary Social Services Department started this camp in the early 1960s, and just with tents on the gravel here, and then ultimately, with the help of others who I'll mention, developed this camp. And it was seen that a transfer, when it was no longer required by the department, that a transfer to the Army Cadet League would see it continue to be used for the youth of Alberta. So, Neil, we'd like you to accept this plaque on behalf of the league. Oh yes, there should be cameras going everywhere here.
On behalf of the City of Calgary, Mayor Al Dewar and City Council, I accept this plaque very gratefully, and also to bring you congratulations. And in particular, Mr. Bilodeau asked me to pass on his regrets that he was unable to be here today, and he's very pleased, as members of City Council, that the voices of youth will be ringing out in these woods and in these buildings once again. And in addition, Mr. Bilodeau asked me to pass on to you that when you start flashing up and becoming operational, that he'll come out and he'll work for a day or two
to make sure that these buildings were put up, but also came out and helped construct the buildings that you see here. The Optimist Club is a service club dedicated to serving the needs of Calgary's youth. They have worked with the city in a tangible way by contributing these facilities. And Lloyd, I might say that there's still lots of work to be done here. There's a camp development plan, and we'd be very pleased to see the Optimist Club continue their interest in all ways in this camp. So if you'd accept this plaque, please, Lloyd.
On behalf of the North Calgary Optimist Club, I'll gladly accept this plaque, and I would like to just point out that our club did put an awful lot of effort into these buildings out here, the physical part of this camp, and we certainly are glad to think that it's going to be in good hands in the near future. Thank you very much.
And now I'd like to call forward Mr. Pete Tykerope. Pete, would you come forward, please? Now, Pete is here representing the Alberta Northwest Territories Command of the Royal Canadian Legion. And I can tell you that when camp development money was needed, the Legion came through with a very significant contribution of cash. and that was evidence of their continuing and unequivocal support to cadets. So we thank you very much, Pete, for being here today, and we look forward to a long and continuing relationship with you as well.
On behalf of Command, Alberta NWT Command of the Royal Canadian Legion, I am indeed honoured to accept this plaque. The Royal Canadian Legion members have always been ready and willing to support cadet corps, not only the Army Cadet Corps, but also the Air Force and the Naval League. And I'm sure we will do so again in the future. This is a very impressive camp. I just wonder how you ever found it. But I'm sure now that you've got it, it will meet all the expectations that you had in mind when you decided to move into this area. And I thank you very much again for this fine plaque.
Thank you. Another person who has encouraged us all along to establish a camp and get it going, and Freddie Mannix is a fellow who is used to seeing things happen more quickly than a 6-year delay. So that was an initiation for him into the system of getting difficult projects going. But Freddie was always there to help and assist, and Freddie donated some ATCO trailers to the development of the camp, and they too are part of our plan for camp development. The camp is to be used for Army cadets, and Freddie has a great interest in Army cadets, not just the Calgary Highlander cadets, but all Army cadets. And it was his contribution of trailers that gave us some encouragement to keep this project going. Now, Freddie can't be here today, but we'd ask Mr. George Milne if he would come forward and accept on behalf of Colonel Mannix.
Ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, I'd like to thank you very much on behalf of Honorary Colonel Mannix for this splendid plaque. And he asked me to tell you how proud he is of this camp and wishes you well in your splendid mission. Before I conclude, I'd just like to mention another initiative. Some of you might know that Ranger Oil Limited, through Simon Reisman, the chairman, initiated a fund called the Honorary Lieutenant Colonel Jack Pierce Memorial Fund to create money, the income of which will be to support our 3 cadet corps in the Calgary Highlanders. And $40,000 has been raised, so it's quite substantial. Anyway, thank you again, and I'll be giving him this plaque next week with pride. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, the land on which this camp is situated is owned by the province of Alberta and controlled by the Department of Forestry, Lands and Wildlife. And by their seeing the need for continuing use of an environmental asset like this as a camp for healthy development of young people in Alberta, I think they are to be thanked, and to say that we can use the environment in a wise way, and as I say, for the development of youth. It isn't something just to be trekked through, but a place where we can teach the skills that youth need. And without the province, we wouldn't have this facility. This department not only owns the land, but through the foundation, the Parks Foundation, we have received financial contributions as well. And they have assured us through Major Wakefield that they are interested in continuing to support the camp. Now, I would like to ask Mr. Benjamin Bureau if he would come forward on behalf of the Ranger staff to accept a plaque. We're looking for big things from you too. You know, so there's always a hook on these things. But Ben, we would like you to accept this plaque as a memory of today's event, and to look forward to a long and continuing relationship.
Okay, On behalf of the Alberta Forest Service, I'm greatly honored to accept this plaque. We welcome Camp Howard and the Army Cadets to the Ghost Forest Ranger District. Thank you very much.
Thanks. You can go now, sir. Thank you. Ranger Oil Limited also donated a trailer or two to this project. The Honorary Lieutenant Colonel Jack Pierce believed and strongly supported cadets, and at any time he might have had any doubts, he had Colonel John Fletcher right in the office to remind him that the cadets were important. And there isn't anyone here from Ranger Oil today to accept the plaque that we have for them, but we hope to be able to do that at the annual general meeting in Edmonton in February. But I do want you all to know that Ranger Oil has contributed to the camp, and particularly the late Jack Pierce, who was a very kind supporter of cadets. So could I hear a round of applause for Ranger Oil? Now, just before I take my seat, I want to thank Paul Hughes and John Fletcher. These two guys have worked very hard to make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Just by way of conclusion, I also have a number of people that I would like to thank that were instrumental in getting the camp going and also organizing today's activities. In no particular order of sequence, and I apologize in advance if there's anybody that I've left out. But first of all, Major Keith Wakefield, our treasurer from Edmonton, who's been bankrolling much of the activity that's going on here in the last couple of months. Keith will be happy to know that most of the bills are in, but there's still a few to come, so keep that checkbook handy, would you? Colonel Herb Berard of the 14th Service Battalion, who provided the staff here for the kitchen this weekend and transportation and a lot of other valuable pieces of equipment and whatnot, without which this day wouldn't have come off as well as it had. Wally Cater, who I saw here earlier, there he is, Wally for the pipes and drums. And Colonel Tom Wolfe and Mr. Bill Morey for the KOCR band, very much appreciated. Mike Goss is sitting down here in the third or fourth row, who drew up many of the earlier plans and did some of the engineering when we were sort of investigating the Camp Howard facility. Carol Hackett, who's Bill Howard's secretary, who sent out all the invitations and kept track of the people that were coming out here today, and did a lot of the administrative work in preparing today's activities. Norm Bilodeau has already been mentioned, so I'll just move on to Captain John Tonks of Base Calgary, General Ashton, Colonel Ian Gray, who's the base commander, Lieutenant Jim Agate, who commanded the work party out here this weekend and has set everything up for us. We appreciate your efforts, Jim, wherever you are. I saw him running around there a minute ago. Captain. Captain, oh, I'm sorry. Captain Jim Agate. Naslin Jaffer, who is Sam's secretary, did all the typing, or a lot of the typing. And finally, last and not least, Sam Blakely, who was always a pillar of strength in regard to the project. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. The balance of the activities, we invite you to walk around and take a look at the camp, and then if everything goes according to schedule, there'll be a lunch served in, I assume, about right away, he says. Sorry. I always get the last word, Graham, so...
You can have it yet. The trouble is, when someone's standing up here thanking everybody, they don't get a chance to be thanked themselves. So, can everybody give a round of applause? Yeah.
Thanks very much, Graham. Okay, now the last word. Murray Dennis, who has been in charge of the rations and libations, says that things are ready to go. So if you want to move, I assume, around behind...
at Calgary, 1962, 10 by 54 foot. Up at, just on the range. Was two 10 by 54 foot trailers with the doors facing inward right here, with an 8-foot boardwalk between them. Right here? Right here.
Oh, those are ones we already got.
Thanks, guys.